When you start learning about professional video editing software, one thing becomes clear right away. Adobe Premiere Pro and Apple Final Cut Pro are a cut above the rest. And they both look very different. At first glance, the screens have different layouts, different menus, and even different names for basic parts of a project. These differences can make deciding between them feel confusing. But once we break down what these differences really mean, you can start thinking in terms of how you want to edit, not just what the buttons look like. Have you ever opened a new editing program and wondered what the timeline is called, or where your clips actually live? That question lies right at the heart of how Premiere and Final Cut approach editing. Premiere Pro uses what most editors call a traditional timeline. You see multiple video and audio tracks lined up, one on top of the next. Everything stays where you put it unless you move it. Final Cut Pro, on the other hand, uses something called a magnetic timeline. Instead of fixed tracks, clips kind of snap together like puzzle pieces. When you move a clip, the others automatically shift to fill the space. This can feel magical, or it can feel unfamiliar if you were used to a classic timeline, but once you learn it, many editors find it saves time. Now take a moment and think about your own workflow. Do you like things rigid and structured, or more flexible and intuitive? That difference in how timelines behave also affects other parts of these programs. Final Cut Pro's file structure is built around things called events, projects, and libraries. A library holds everything: your footage, audio, projects, and clips, and within it, events sort media and projects contain your timelines. In Premiere, you have projects and sequences, where a project holds your whole job and sequences are like the individual timelines you build. It's a small difference in naming, but it changes how editors separate assets from timelines in real life. Have you ever lost track of a clip in a big editing project? The way software names and sorts things really matters. Performance and speed are where the differences begin to feel practical. Final Cut Pro is made by Apple for Apple machines. That means it only runs on Mac OS, and it's optimized specifically for that system. Because the software only needs to support one platform, playback often feels smoother. Rendering, that's the step where your edits get turned into the final video, is often faster, and the software looks and behaves like the rest of your Mac. Premiere Pro works on both Windows and Mac OS, so it needs to adapt to many kinds of computers. That gives it flexibility, but it can also mean that on some machines playback isn't quite as smooth, and exporting videos can take longer, especially with complex projects. Quick question for you. When you edit, do you find yourself more annoyed by slow playback or by waiting for files to export? Because Final Cut is so tightly integrated with Apple hardware, it often feels faster on Macs, especially newer ones with Apple Silicon chips. Speed matters when you have lots of edits, effects, or high-resolution files. Editors often report that projects feel lighter and more responsive in Final Cut once they adjust to the magnetic timeline. This doesn't mean Premiere is slow, far from it, but on the same Mac hardware, Final Cut tends to finish exports and previews faster for many kinds of footage. Now think about the times you've worked with heavy videos, like 4K or multi-camera footage. Would faster exports make a big difference in your workflow? Both tools have a full set of editing features, but how they present them can feel different. Premiere Pro is built to be flexible and deep. It has tools for precise color corrections, detailed audio control, and advanced effects. Because it's part of Adobe Creative Cloud, you can open your project alongside Photoshop for images, After Effects for motion graphics, and Audition for sound editing. Everything stays connected and shares templates and assets. That integration is a huge advantage if you do lots of different creative work or collaborate with people who use different Adobe software. Final Cut Pro doesn't rely on a suite of programs. It includes a lot of tools directly inside one app. You can edit audio, make color adjustments, add titles, and even use automatic features like scene detection without leaving the program. Many users appreciate that they don't need several different apps to finish a project. But Premiere as ecosystem wins when you need wide flexibility and custom tools for things like visual effects. Here is a question you might not have thought about yet. Do you prefer all your editing tools in one program, or do you like switching between apps that each specialize in something? Another difference that goes beyond workflows and tools is how you pay for each program. Premiere Pro uses a subscription model. You pay monthly or annually and keep accessing the software as long as you keep paying. This makes Premiere easier to get started with, but over several years, that cost adds up. Final Cut Pro uses a one-time purchase. A single payment gives you lifetime access and upgrades. For some editors, that feels much simpler. For others, the subscription model feels more flexible. Ask yourself this: do you like subscriptions that keep updating automatically, or would you rather pay once and own the software forever? One of the biggest real-world reasons teams choose Premiere Pro is collaboration. Because Premiere is used across agencies, studios, and education environments, it has tools that help multiple editors work on the same project, even from different places. Team projects sync through the cloud, so producers and editors can share work without sending giant video files back and forth. Final Cut Pro doesn't have the same built-in team collaboration tools. It works best when projects stay on shared drives or are passed physically between editors. As remote work becomes more common, that makes a difference for larger teams. So think about your editing habits. Do you edit alone most of the time, or do you regularly share projects with others? When it comes to formats, both editors support most modern video types. You can work with popular formats like HD, 4K H264, ProRes, and many more without much trouble. But because Premiere supports more systems and devices, it can handle some rare or professional formats more naturally. Some formats that require plugins or conversions in Final Cut might just open directly in Premiere. That's another reason many studios still lean on Premiere for broadcast work. Here's a practical thought. Have you ever had to convert footage before editing it? Beginners often find Final Cut Pro easier to learn. Its workspace is clean, and the tools are designed to be intuitive. Designers at Apple put a lot of effort into making Final Cut's interface feel familiar to people who use other Apple apps. Premiere Pro can feel more complex at first because there are more menus, panels, and ways to customize the workspace. That complexity pays off when projects get hard, but it can feel overwhelming for new editors. Take a moment and consider, when you're learning something new, do you prefer a clean interface or lots of options right away? Another point worth mentioning is exporting and rendering, the final step before your video is ready to share. Final Cut Pro often finishes these steps faster on Macs, especially with native Apple formats like ProRes. Premiere Pro gives you more control over fine details of export settings and codecs, and it works together with Adobe Media Encoder for extra options. If you ever need very specific export controls, Premiere gives you that choice. But if you just want your video done quickly and smoothly, Final Cut delivers a strong experience. Let me ask you a simple question. When your video is finished, is it more important that it exports fast or that you have total control over every setting? Both editors are used in the real world every day to make professional work. Big YouTube channels, documentary filmmakers, broadcast studios, and corporate video teams all use these tools, sometimes in the same company. The choice isn't about which is better, but which fits your style. If this breakdown helped you see the differences more clearly, give the video a like so more creators can find it. Subscribe if you want more clear, honest comparisons that actually help you decide, not confuse you.